Hey everybody, it's Leeroy from Leeroy Gaming, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at the swarm that walks path. Now, this is meant to be a succinct video that's going to go over and show you the final transformation and all the abilities, as well as explain to you how the Mythic path actually works. If you are looking for an extensive video that shows you how to unlock everything, story modes, and also includes this information, then you should check out my ultimate guide to the swarm that walks. But again, if you want to mainly see what the abilities are about and the features and what they look like in a quick short video, well, then this video is for you. Now, remember, if you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, make sure to like, subscribe, smash that notification bell. And as always, please leave comments. Let me know what kind of content you want to see next from me. There's so much stuff I can do for this game, and I definitely listen to your feedback. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the swarm that walks. Now, the first thing I want to point out is I am showing you right now what it looks like when you level up to Mythic level 10. And so you can kind of see the final swarm form. It's kind of looks like you have a swarm beard, but your actual full body is the swarm at this point in the story. So the first thing to note is that when you do get Mythic rank 8, and this is going to be in Act 5, the first thing that's going to happen is whatever previous choice you made, that all goes away. So if you were a demon, or you were an Aeon, or you were an angel, it doesn't matter. All those special features go away. Now, you do get to keep your Mythic hero options. That's tier 1 and 2. And if you respec, you can change these. So if you don't like how your level 1 and 2 choices synergize, you can change them. You will also get to keep all of your mythic feats and abilities all the way up to Mythic level 7. And then starting with Mythic level 8, you're gonna, as part of the story, gonna go through a progression. You're gonna start as a host of the Great Swarm, and then later on in the story, you're gonna become Eye of the Swarm, and finally you are gonna become the Swarm. But it all starts with Host of the Swarm. And you get some initial abilities that make you better than you were before. So, as the description says, you become a host of the Great Swarm, which now lives inside your body. The symbiosis gives you fast healing, which is regeneration, and additional hit points dependent on the size of your swarm. Now, this is only a couple of hit points every round, but it still helps out. And then it notes here that to increase the size of your swarm, you need to devour other living beings. And we'll go over how that works as well. Now, you will also get a couple of abilities that you're going to be able to use immediately. You're going to get Swarm Form. You're going to get the Devour ability, Swarm Feast, and then Swarm Infest. Now, let's take a look on the character what this actually does. So if you look at my character here, you're going to notice that by default, it activates Swarm Form. So when you are in this Swarm Form mode, you return, this is basically a mode you can swap into for free at any time. You gain DR5/dash plus your swarm size and bonus to natural armor equal to 4 plus your swarm size. And then if you use this ability, it's going to cancel either of the other 2 abilities that we're going to discuss in just a moment. Now, this is a good time for me to talk to you about swarm size. And that's this feature right here, if you mouse over right over the abilities. So it basically says, by devouring victims, the swarm increases the power of all your abilities depending on a CR. And CR is basically the difficulty level of the enemies you kill. So if you kill a bunch of low-level characters, it's not going to help you that much. And then the higher level stuff you kill, the more of this will scale. Of the devoured creature. Now, the first number indicates the sum of your CRs of all the devoured creatures. The second is the current size of your swarm. Now, this will start at 0/0. And there's a couple things you need to know. It does not scale in a linear fashion. So you will notice at this point I am 3,361, and that translates to level 7 size of the swarm. And obviously you initially start after a couple hundred, it goes to level 1, and then level 2, level 3, and so forth. So knowing that I'm level 7, what does that say about the first ability? Basically, it's now saying that I gain DR5 / plus swarm size, so 7. That means I have a DR12, that's 5 plus 7. So that is pretty intense. I get 12 damage reduction that cannot be bypassed by anything. And then I also get a natural armor bonus, which is 4 plus that 7. So I now get 11 natural armor bonus. Now this can keep scaling. This is why you will notice that the Swarm That Walks scales better than anything else. It has an exponential increase in its power. Unfortunately, when you're first starting out, you will be extremely weak. The baseline stats on this aren't that great, and you are losing the use of your entire party. There is no way early on at the basically level 8 or the Mythic level 8 to have anybody else in your party. It's just you. And Mythic 10, as we'll discuss, there'll be a way for you to get to extra party members, and we'll look at that in just a moment. Now let's look at the second ability. At any point, you can activate Swarm Feast, and that looks like this. Notice a bunch of the swarm popped out, and what's now happening indefinitely until you turn it off is your swarm flies out of your body and starts attacking all enemies in a 50-foot radius. Every round, so every 6 seconds, all enemies in the area are dealt, and there's a calculation. It's 4 plus your swarm size d6 physical damage. So when you get this at Mythic level 8, it's initially going to be 46 physical damage. And that's actually not bad since it's for free and it's AoE. So you can have 10 enemies and all of them are going to get hit by this. Now, as you level up, this gets way more powerful. So again, looking at me as an example, I am swarm size 7. And so that means I have 4 plus 7, so that's 11. I'm doing 11 d6 physical damage to everything within 50 feet of me. Now, if they die while in the area, they are automatically devoured. Now, I can confirm this does not always work. And if it doesn't work, you need to manually devour the individuals to, again, have them count towards the size of your swarm. Now, additionally, any ranged or ranged touch attacks against you have a 50% chance to miss. That's huge. Basically, nothing's going to hit you from range on average. And then if you use this ability, it cancels swarm form. So basically means if you're in your defensive mode, that goes away. You no longer get your defensive bonus. Instead, you get this offensive AoE bonus. Okay. Now, there is a third ability that is a castable, targetable ability. And it's called Swarm Infest, and it targets one enemy, and it's long range. Now, you send out a part of your swarm to infest the enemy. It's going to do 8d8 physical damage each round, so each 6 seconds. And then that damage gets increased by 2d8 for each point of your swarm size. So this scales incredibly. So even at Mythic level 8, when you first get it, it's 88 damage. But now, again, if we're doing this calculation at level 7 swarm size, that's 7 times 2, that's 14d8 plus 8. So that's going to be what? 14 plus 8, that's what, 22d8, if I'm doing my math correctly, of damage each round. If the target dies while under this effect, it automatically devours. So basically they blow up is what you're going to see. And normally this works, but again, it sometimes is inconsistent and it will sometimes not devour the body. Now when it ends, so for example, if you were to swap to Swarm Form or to Swarm Feast, what it's going to do, it's going to heal you for the amount of damage you've dealt to the enemy with Swarm Infest. And this is a big deal because this will basically, more often than not, act like a complete heal for you. And you can kind of swap between casting this and then swapping over to either of the other abilities to heal yourself. So even if you are a solo character that has no other way to heal, this will heal you. Additionally, the target must make a will saving throw. The DC is 15 plus double your mythic rank. So at max level, it can be, if you have a mythic rank of 10, this could be 20 plus 15 at DC 35 check maximum, or they become panicked. And panicked, they basically run away in fear. And this works on a pretty regular basis. So this can be quite helpful. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll cast this on an enemy, and then I'll fight somebody else while that first enemy runs away and just dies as it gets damaged over time over and over again. And again, using this will cancel either of the other abilities. So those are your 3 main abilities, but you also have something called Devour. It's medium range, and basically you send a part of your swarm to devour a corpse to increase the size of your swarm. So this is anything that didn't get blown up manually. And as it mentions here, the increase depends on CR of the devoured corpse. When the amount of eaten enemies hit a certain threshold, you're going to get a permanent increase. Now, I also want to point out is that this doesn't always update live. So sometimes you'll devour numerous enemies, and this is especially noticeable when you first start, and it keeps saying 0 out of 0. But at certain points, it will update, or you can simply quick save, F5, and quick load, and it will auto update for you. So that's a nice quick little tip for you on that. So those are the features baseline when you are Mythic level 8. Now, once you proceed in a story, there's going to be a part where you will upgrade to Mythic level 9. Let's take a look at that. Now at Mythic level 9, you become Eye of the Swarm. So from now on, you are made of the swarm. You gain damage reduction of a swarm and immunity to attacks of opportunity. This is a big, big deal. If you remember early in the game, there's even a tutorial about fighting the swarm. They are very hard to kill. In Pathfinder Kingmaker, they were even worse. At one point, you could only kill them if you threw an AoE fire attack on them or acid. Bottom line is, you are going to be missed constantly in melee and against ranged attacks. You're also now immune to all attacks of opportunity. Additionally, you get strength and dexterity ability scores increased by, and the calculation is 4 plus your swarm size. So even if you were swarm size 0, which you won't be, it would be plus 4 to strength and dex. But for example, in my case, I am level 7. So that's 11 to strength and 11 to dexterity. And this scales and stacks with any other bonuses. Now, this is again very, very powerful because this can keep going and going and get quite high. Additionally, you get immunity to most effects that affecting a normal mortal body. So you're immune to poison, immune to disease, immune to paralysis, immune to stun. On top of this, while in swarm form, while it is active, all your attacks deal an additional 4 plus your swarm size damage. So in my case, it'd be 4 plus 7, 11 extra damage. And any opponent that attacks you in melee combat, notice it doesn't say natural attacks like some of them do. So any melee attacks, they basically get hit back 4 plus your swarm size d6 of damage. So again, it starts at 4d6, and in my case, it's 11d6 damage anytime actually attacks me in melee. So they die on you, which is ridiculous. Now there's also a hidden mechanic, and that's that you will get an insane range, or reach rather. So even for me as a scimitar, to kind of give you a point of reference, I can attack as far as, let's say, here, this far away, and you will actually hit. It's not documented. I don't think it's a bug because it always works, but you do have to be in Swarm Feast mode, it seems like, for that range mode, or Swarm Infest. And then if you want the other benefit, it has to be Swarm Form. For whatever reason, in Swarm Form, you do not get the range. However, in Swarm Form, you do get that extra damage and a damage shield. So the idea is, if you're in any of the ranged modes, so the single target or the AoE, your melee attacks will also do extra range, but you are sacrificing defense. And if you need to turtle up into that defensive mode, you're going to be getting all those original benefits of having the extra armor class, the damage reduction, but now when they hit you, they'll do damage to themselves, and your basic melee attacks will also do additional damage. Now, do notice it says all your attacks. So if you were a ranger, like a ranged class, and shoot with a bow, this will impact that as well. Now, you do also get a mythic feat here as well, but the next big buff is going to be at mythic tier 10. Now, mythic tier 10, you become the swarm. So in addition to all the other buffs you've gotten so far, you're now going to get an intelligence, wisdom, and charisma ability score increase of 4 plus the swarm size. So same rules. So me being swarm size 7, I get plus 11 intelligence, plus 11 wisdom, and plus 11 charisma. And it will keep scaling. You also gain spell resistance equal to 25 plus your swarm size. So again, for example, at swarm size 7, you have 32 spell resistance. And you gain immunity to most harmful conditions. And as far as I've seen, I haven't seen anything that can impact me as far as negative conditions. But we're not done yet. You're immune to exhaustion and fatigue effects. Now, I don't know if this is a bug, but I noticed this earlier, even before you become the swarm, meaning you can be traveling on the overland map, and you can do it indefinitely. You will never get tired. You will never get fatigued. Plus, you get a plus 10 profane bonus on stealth skill checks for camouflage roll, and plus 10 profane bonus on perception skill checks for night watch during rest and movement on global maps. So you're basically never going to get jumped, and you could still technically rest to get your spellbacks, for example, if you have a caster. And so that's where that will come in handy, because you're never going to need to rest just to rest. But that's not all. You also get the most overpowered ability in the game, and it's called Swarm Clone. You gain the ability to make your own clones using the Swarm. They have all your abilities, but separate inventories, which all that means is you need to equip them separately. You can simultaneously have one clone per 3 points of your swarm size. So let's see what that looks like. So when you cast this ability, it takes a moment to cast. And quite literally, you get a clone that works just like you. Now, you hit the little M Mythic button, and you name it. You can name it whatever you want. So let's name him Kerrigan. Same exact base stats. And now you can go inventory and equip her however you want. If you look under character, it's going to be the same class, same feats, same everything. And again, this does mean that this character will also get to use other abilities. So they can use Swarm Form, they can use Swarm Feast, they can use Swarm Infest. What does this mean? It means, for example, you could have both of you cast Swarm Feast, the AoE, and now this doubles. So, for example, we calculated that this is going to, when we do Swarm Feast, it's going to do 7 plus 4, 11 d6 physical damage. Well, if you activate this with the other one, that's another 11 d6. So that's now 22 d6 AoE damage to everything. But remember, there's a calculation on this, and it says you can have 1 per 3 points. So at tier 7, size 7 rather, we should be able to have 2. So if we go ahead and do this, we will go and get a second clone, same exact process, clone 2. Now you do need more equipment, which you probably have because you lost all the other characters and hopefully you unequipped them all so before they left you. And so now you equip them however you want. Again, same exact character as you. Now you may have just noticed that I just cast that ability again and got a third clone. And I'm going to cast it again while I talk to you. And we're going to get another clone, and that's because this is currently bugged. I don't know when this is going to get fixed, but basically, in theory, in order to get a full group, you're supposed to have 3, 6, 9, 12, a level 15 swarmed out walks. But currently, you can do it, it seems like, at any point. Which means that, yes, in this case, I could, as an example, have all of them activate Swarm Feast, and even at tier 7, that's going to do 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66 d6 damage per round AoE to everything. If you were to walk into an encounter with all this activated, more likely than not, everything is instantly dead. Or you could just go and target everything with Swarm Infest and do even more damage and have it all run away and instantly die within a couple of seconds. And in case you want to see what the actual ability Swarm Infest looks like, since we now have clones and we can technically attack ourselves, you can click Swarm Infest, click it, and as you can kind of see, Swarm goes over and starts swarming on them, and every 6 seconds it's going to do damage. So there you go. As you saw, she took 95 damage, but then healed 5. That's the natural regeneration. There's 99. So again, we could very well kill our own clone here. So it paused because we're low on health. So there you go. That is the power of the Swarm Infest. So as I mentioned, this path starts extremely weak and vulnerable, but just like any swarm, if it gets big enough, it becomes absolutely unstoppable. It is the most powerful pathway in the game if you're willing to sacrifice everything. Alright guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you found it helpful. And as I stated at the beginning of the video, if you want to see a full-on walkthrough of the entire story, how to unlock everything, make sure to check out my ultimate guide to the Swarm That Walks. Otherwise, make sure to like, subscribe, slam that notification bell. Let me know what other kind of videos you want to see from me for Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.